Other leaders who are good, active listeners, I think, have a special skill. They have this skill of developing rapport and consensus. And when I say active listening, I'm not just saying somebody that listens and says, uh-huh. I mean, really stopping and listening to what the other person is saying, reflecting back on what they're saying to let the other person know, yes, I actually am thinking about what you're saying. I also think having a sense of humor is a really important thing for a leader to have. Life is short. We should make it fun. A wide-ranging curiosity for a lot of things. So not just stuff related to your job, but just being curious about all kinds of things in life. And finally, I would say someone who is authentically positive. He sees the upside in everything. So I would say my top on that list is micromanaging. It's really good to be able to delegate, let go, and realize that there's more than one way to do something. There's more than one way to be effective, and let go and let the others who are working with you make their choices. I also think it's important to understand that positivity is a much stronger motivator than negativity. So positive reinforcement, it works so much better than negative feedback. We don't often stop and tell people that they're doing an awesome job. And that really works. And then finally, I think realizing that sometimes, getting, to the end, getting to the goal, sometimes it's more important to stop and let all voices be heard, even if some of those voices are not gonna end up being represented in the ultimate outcome. So just letting everyone have their voice heard is an important thing that leaders can do. So when I first started practicing law, I'm a small person. I look younger than my true age. I'm quiet. And so the first time I went down to court to argue a motion, the judge looked up at me over the bench and said, "Excuse me, counselor, are you violating the child labor laws by being up here and making this argument?" Like, he didn't think I was even above the age of 16. So I have found that throughout my career, sometimes people have a first impression of me, that's wrong. They think I'm inexperienced, they think I'm quiet, and I'm not really a fighter. And what I do is, I use that to my advantage. I can use it to sometimes develop rapport with people who are sometimes, overwhelmed or intimidated by lawyers, or I can use it to be stealthy. People do not expect from me what they're going to get. And finally, my work speaks for itself. My teaching, scholarship, presentations, they are what make me as a person, and it's not necessarily what you see when you first look at me. So I learn from other leaders. So always watching, other people in leadership positions. What do they do that works? How are people motivated? How do you get buy-in from the people that are working with you? And I think you also recognize, and I recognize, that there are different styles of leadership. So I'm an introvert, I'm very quiet, and I listen a lot. And it took me a while to realize that that is an effective style of leader. And it can be just as effective as, an extroverted, very outgoing style. So just embracing my own authentic style, or your own authentic style, is really helpful. So future leaders, I think, should have a combination of brain power, social skills, and work ethic. And all of those, come from experience and practice. When I was, first in law school, I thought because I was so introverted, oh, I'm so socially awkward. I'll never get anywhere. But, with practice, with thought, I became pretty good at making small talk, at networking, listening to people. So I guess the thing that, any of these characteristics, if you feel like you don't have them, you can practice and acquire them. I also think future leaders are people who clear the bar by more than 3 feet. So it's doing, not just doing the minimum to get over, but doing way more than necessary. Sense of humor is very important. And what I said earlier, having wide-ranging interest and curiosity about things that go beyond just the job itself. So one thing I do, and it's really important, is that I carve out time for myself every day. I run, I read a lot, but here's the thing I do that might sound a little strange. I watch a fair amount of television, Netflix, movies, films, Netflix and lead. You might be thinking, what? But let me explain. Ever since Shakespeare, we have turned to drama, turned to narrative as a form of entertainment, but also as a form for understanding other people. Thurgood Marshall, actually, a little known fact about Thurgood Marshall is that he was very much a fan of daytime soap operas. And his detractors gave him some trouble with that, but he said, you can learn a lot from what people are doing on TV. And so, I like to watch TV, Game of Thrones, Downton Abbey, The Wire, Sopranos, stand-up comedy. But the thing I take away from it is that watching drama or narrative helps you understand what motivates people. Why do people make bad decisions? Why do groups, get in conflict with each other? But most of all, it helps me empathize with people, understand what happens to a person when they're going through a conflict. And I always have takeaways from my leisure time.